Yeah, I think it's there's a series of Wednesdays.
We're all over the place.
Testing. Just as long as you don't have any.
That's what it's.
We'll talk about it after.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 2:01 p.m. I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting. I'm Melinda McGregor. I'm your acting chair. And we also have Wayne Greco, our member, Frank Bruni, and Anthony Rossi. And then we have Michelle Kelly, and then our planning representative is Nick.
So we'll start with the land acknowledgement, Madam Chair. I acknowledge with respect that we're in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bawating. Bawating is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Madam Chair, if I could have a motion for the minutes of October 30th.
Okay, a motion by Wayne,
I'll second the motion.
second by Anthony, and all in favor?
Thank you. No one has advised me of a disclosure of pecuniary interest. Is there any that wish to disclose now? Seeing none, we'll record none. Madam Chair, I have two applications that I require a motion for deferral. And the reason for both applications is the posting of the public notice sign did not meet the Planning Act regulations. So I had to remove the applications from the agenda. I'm asking that the committee, motion to defer it to the honor before January 15th, 2025.
Okay, can I get a motion to defer the applications?
Motion in favor of deferral.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. And a second? Second by Frank, and all in favor? Okay, motion passed.
And the same for the second application would be 267 Huron Street. Could I have a motion to defer?
Motion to defer.
Again, I'll motion to
Okay.
defer.
Thank you, Anthony. And second? Second by Wayne, and all in favor? Okay, motion passed.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the gallery that's here for application A3924 being 81 Allworth Place or A4324 being 267 Huron Street? Okay, seeing none. Madam Chair, if I could draw the committee's attention and hear item number 6 first. And that would be application A4424, an application from David Young. And David Young is making his way to the podium as we speak. David Young is the owner of Lot 10 Neelan Subdivision, former Township of Rankin, municipally identified as Civic number 59 Talon Avenue. It is located on the northeast side of Talon Avenue between Queen Street East and Teal Avenue. It is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R1 Estate Residential. Relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended by reducing the front yard setback and interior side yard setback to facilitate the construction of a 7.4 meter by 9.8 meter by 4.4 meter detached garage. The intent of the application is to locate the garage more in line with required setbacks for garages on other residential zone properties throughout the municipality. Specifically, section 9.1.5 requires a minimum front yard setback of 12 meters. The applicant proposes to reduce the front yard setback to 7.5 meters, which will still be behind the existing house or further into the lot than the existing house is. Seeking to reduce the minimum south interior side yard requirement is 6 meters. That was circulated out. I have a note on that. Subsequent to interpretation confirms that the requirement for this interior side is 3.5 meters. And that came about because it's a corner lot in an R1 zone. It has an exterior side yard and really only one interior side yard. Staff looked at the interpretation of which yard was which between different staff, interpreted differently. At the end of the day, though, both staff agree to the reduction to 2.625 meters, and the request is to reduce it to 2.625 meters. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and posting on the city website. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building Division had no objection. Engineering and Construction had no comment. Fire Services had no response. Legal Department had no comment. Planning Division had no objections. Planning staff considers the southeast yard to be the subject property's interior side yard. The required interior side yard for the R1 zone outline and zoning bylaw 2005-150 is 3.5. Planning staff support reducing the interior side from 3.5 to 2.63 meters. In addition, planning supports reducing the required front yard from 12 meters to 7.5 meters, as it is consistent with the character of the neighborhood and other residential zones. PUC Distribution Electric Services had no concerns. Public Utilities Commission Water had no concerns. But while we're speaking, I will remind you that you may need a swing calculation from PUC, and you'll check that out with Building Department when you go for your permit. Public Works were not circulated. My comments and recommendations are: consideration is to reduce the interior side yard from 3.5 meters to 2.625 meters. There are no objections or concerns from staff. Planning staff support the proposed reduction to 2.625 meters. And those are my submissions, Madam Chair. And again, it's David Young at the podium.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. David, do you have any questions or comments for the committee or Michelle? Okay, yeah, no problem. Thank you. Any questions from the committee members?
Here.
Okay, with no questions, I'll close the discussion and ask for a motion.
Application feeding the test into minor variance.
Sounds good. Okay, and second? Okay, and all in favor? Okay, and motion passed. Thank you, and you don't have to stay around for the rest of the applications once you're done.
You'll get emailed a formal decision in the next couple days. They just approved your application.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, good. Thank you. We can hear you.
Oh.
That's probably better. That's why I got him.
So I'll bring the committee's attention back to item 1 on your agenda. And it's the application that was deferred from the last hearing, and Tony Sturpey is making his way to the podium. And Tony Sturpey is acting for the owner in this application. The application is A3724. Isnizi Living Development Limited is the owner of 304 Albert Street West. It is located on the northwest corner of Albert Street West and Huron Street. It is designated residential in the official plan and is Zone C4 General Commercial. Relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended by permitting 7 dwelling units to be located on the ground floor. Specifically, section 13.5.1 of bylaw 2005-150 states that no dwelling units on the ground floor if located within a legally existing building. The applicant seeks to permit 7 dwelling units to be located on the ground floor of the legally existing building. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and posting on the city website. Irma Giovanatti Bree, a neighboring property owner at 176 Huron Street, submitted the following comments, and Ms. Giovanatti Bree is in the gallery. A, is the city aware of the recently significant increase in the number of occupants within 200 feet of Huron Street, bordered by Albert and Alexandra Streets? 182 Huron Street, corner of Huron and Alexandra, was recently sold and converted to a student rental with a minimum of 7 bedrooms. 326 Albert Street West, also owned by this company and less than 70 feet west of 304 Albert, recently put 6 apartments on the market. How many bedrooms occupants do these 6 apartments actually represent? 304 Albert Street had 23 rental rooms between the 2nd and 3rd floors. Isnizi now wants permission to add another 7 dwelling units on the main floor. How many more bedrooms occupants will that entail? It is also curious that this company makes no mention of the basement level that has the same generous square footage as the first and second floors. This needs clarification, and I'll point out right now that this application only refers to the ground floor and not the basement. In short, one is looking at a minimum 43 occupants among these three properties. I venture the real number is considerably higher. B, can the current infrastructure support the increasing density? I own 176 Huron Street. My home is located across the street from 182 Huron and 304 Albert. 326 Albert is a stone's throw from my home. All four properties share the same sewer system. In the last 22 years, I have had to endure 2 basement floods. Both times the problem existed beyond my property line. Only those who have had sewage throughout their entire basement can appreciate how emotionally and psychologically traumatizing the situation is. To add insult to injury, I and my insurance company absorbed the cost of cleanup, construction, and replacement. My second flood happened approximately 4 years ago. At that time, I put the city on notice by way of an email to the Board of Works. Even though neither backup is owed to my negligence, I am vigilant about another flood sewer backup entering my home. As recently as this year, I hired a reputable local plumber to record my portion of the sewer line. He verified there were no problems on my line. I can provide a copy of the video if necessary. In short, in view of the increasing density, I'm again putting the city on notice. Some additional concerns and observations regarding 304 Albert and immediate environs. How is that the walls for the 7 dwelling units are roughed in already? 2, what does the city know about this company? I could find nothing on the computer. What is evident is that their employees work 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. None of the trucks bear a logo. 169 Huron Street along the same stretch is owned by an out-of-town proprietor. The city is compelled to cut the grass. The landlord ignores the tenant's request to replace the front window, which has a significant bullet hole as a result of a shooting several years ago. 3, Isnizi's 2 properties are woefully deficient of any natural aesthetics or any outdoor living space. 182 Huron and 324 Albert at least have a few strips of grass. 304 Albert has neither a tree, flower, nor a blade of grass. It is less a home and more a can of sardines sitting on a wasteland of concrete and asphalt. And 4, it appears the city has little or any concern for the increased noise, activity, or traffic that we residents will have to experience. Why has the city not requested the entrances on Huron be reduced to 1? After all, there is a 3rd main entrance on Albert. The staircases are flush to the sidewalk. This is where the smokers congregate. This is where vehicles habitually park to load and unload. Why are they not expected to provide a loading zone within their own property? In the flush of summer, 326 Albert has only 3 parking spaces, and only if drivers play musical cars. 182 Huron has the identical configuration. In the winter, it is logical that 304 Albert will accommodate 326 Albert. After you factor in the snow pileup and space for a dumpster, how many parking spaces on 304 Albert provided in the winter? And 5, what kind of amenities within will 304 Albert offer to its numerous residents? Will there be a common room for recreation and socialization? What kind of kitchen and laundry facilities will there be? What is the ratio of washrooms to residents? Hopefully the interior is not as utilitarian inside as it is outside. Amidst this all, there are a few positives. 304 Albert and 326 Albert are no longer eyesores. 304 Albert, 326 Albert, and 182 Huron are providing some relief to the housing shortage. It appears these rooms are dedicated to Sioux College and Algoma University students. I am open to correction, but I was told the landlord gets $700 per month per room, and the college university assumes costs related to any damages by the students. The downtrodden homeless need not apply. These landlords are laughing all the way to the bank. Minimal risk, maximum gain. Are these landlords subject to any increase in taxes to maintain the infrastructure assaulted by the demands of their numerous clients? That would be logical. I strongly support free enterprise, but only if it is well planned and executed. Also, Not having a loading unloading zone in the parking lot poses a safety issue for both pedestrians and vehicles on Huron and Albert Street. 304 Albert Street is already a traffic hazard in that it blocks visibility at the intersection of Huron and Albert. It does not occupy a sweetened corner. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building Division had no response yet. Building Division, Engineering, Construction, no comment. Fire Services, no concerns. Legal Department, no comment. Planning Division, Planning staff has no objection to the requested variance. The proposed property is in a predominantly residential neighborhood and consists of a second floor with multiple units as of right. The addition of dwelling units supports the city's goal towards increasing the housing supply. The placement of two conditions would be recommended for any approval. To ensure proper design with the existing neighborhood, it is recommended that approval be subject to site plan control, and to satisfy the intention of the official plan and zoning bylaw, renderings of the building should be submitted and subject to the approval of the Director of Planning or his designate. This land is designated residential in the official plan is supported should the ground floor be designed with aesthetics that are sympathetic to the surrounding area. Similarly, with proper design on the main floor in particular, the intention of the zoning bylaw would be upheld by ensuring that commercial spaces are properly renovated to suit a residential purpose. The request is considered minor, and given the character of the neighborhood, this development would be appropriate for the design of the property. PUC Distribution, Inc., being the electrical utility, advised that the applicant must verify if the existing electrical service and metering installation is adequate to supply the existing building and 7 proposed apartments. And they ask that please contact PUC should a revised electrical service or meter configuration be required for the building. ESA will authorize any behind-the-meter works required. Public Utilities Commission Water Utility advised the applicant must verify if the existing water service is adequate to supply the existing building and 7 proposed apartments. It must submit a water service application to PUC Engineering for the proposed renovation. Please contact PUC Engineering Department to request a water service application form. Additional staff response to Ms. Bree's comments. The Director of Public Works advised that there was a main blockage on Alexander Street in 2021. These blockages are typically caused by foreign material like grease being introduced into the system. This is not something that can be prevented, although we do routinely flush systems. There were no deficiencies noted with the sewer system that would prevent additional units from being added to the system. He further advised that the access from Huron Street is a city-maintained laneway. The manager of building and bylaw enforcement confirmed that there is a legal non-conforming sixplex at 326 Albert East. Further, 182 Huron Street benefits from legal non-conforming lot size, front yard, exterior side yard, rear yard, and parking. Permit staff just received an application to perform interior alterations and renovations for the subject property. If work is commenced on the interior, they'll have an inspector attend the site to review. And parking, section 5.4.1 of bylaw 2005-150 as amended, provides that the new use need only supply the difference between the required parking for the old use and the required parking for the new use. A change of use permit will be required if the proposed renovations proceeds. A review of the required parking spaces would be done at that time as well. My recommendations, planning staff provided conditional support, which will include provisions for enhanced aesthetics. PUC electric utility and water utility provided conditional support. Building staff confirmed that parking space calculations will be reviewed during the change of use permit and building permit process. Other officials circulated for comment have no objections, comments, or concerns with the request. Recommended conditions of any approval are: the applicant must obtain approval of the Director of Planning for the building and site development, including the building's facade, amenity space, and potential landscaping prior to the issuance of any building permits. The applicant must provide verification that the existing electrical service and metering installation is adequate to supply the existing building and 7 proposed apartments. to the satisfaction of PUC Inc.'s engineering staff. 3, the applicant must provide verification that the existing water service is adequate to supply the existing building and 7 proposed apartments, and must submit a water service application to PUC Engineering for the proposed renovation to the satisfaction of PUC Inc. engineering staff. And 4, the applicant must obtain a change of use permit and any building permits that may be required. And those are my submissions, Madam Chair. And again, Tony Sturpey is at the podium.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Tony, do you have any questions or comments for the committee or Michelle? Okay.
Only 6 apartments going on the first floor.
Could I stop you for a second? Is the microphone on for Tony? Because I don't see anything on the screen. Sorry, I just noticed that you don't have it lit up and I don't want anyone on live. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I don't want anyone on the live to miss what you're talking about, so. There's no words coming.
Delegation, the one over there, now it is.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, continue. Yeah.
So there's only 6 apartments on the first floor going in and 2 being handicapped, which is a tremendous need, even in that area of town because of the people with wheelchairs. So we're putting a proper ramp in. It's all being designed and there'll be 2 handicap suites on the first floor of 304.
Just, stop you there. Will I amend the application to 6 units and not
Yes,
7?
only 6 units.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
I forgot my drawings, but it is only definitely 6. It's a total of 22 apartments going in the building, or proposed 22 apartments going into the building. We've taken the 2nd and 3rd floor, basically gutted it and then just altered the walls a bit to suit the new layout.
So, and again, just for clarification, so between the ground floor, the 2nd and 3rd floor, there'll be a total of 22 apartments?
And the basement once.
Well,
About
this doesn't, yes, this doesn't.
Okay, so take the
include
basement out. The basement is 5, so.
So 22 apartments between the ground floor, the 2nd floor and the 3rd floor.
Oh, it would be 17 then, because the 5 are in the basement. 17.
17 for what you're talking about.
Ground floor, first floor and 2nd floor. There's 5 proposed in the basement on another.
Oh,
meeting.
okay, the 22 included the basement.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
That's our long-term
Yeah.
plan of the building. So I have brought some drawings of the proposed building. I don't know if we circulate that now, but if it matters at all, but what we started about 30 days ago and what the building looks like today is it's unbelievable. We've had nothing but comments from everybody in the neighborhood, the next door neighbor, the neighbor across the street, people coming over to thank us for cleaning up that corner of town that's been an eyesore for many, many, many years, right? And once it's finished, it will be something you come off the bridge and it'll look wonderful. We've already got a letter from PUC on the water to the property, which is adequate. The power to the building, which we have, is adequate. So we're not altering those in any way because they're with the new, more efficient plumbing fixtures and electrical LED fixtures, we have more than ample power for what we're doing. So there'll be no major destruction to roadways or sidewalks at all. Actually, the service has already been changed to the building. There was a little trench 3 feet long that we did change the service to the building, and that's already been done. So parking lot, it's 22 spaces is designed for what we got laid out for the parking lot. And he plans to have it fully paved, proper lines, and with a new design, there will be a entranceway on that side of the building into the parking lot. So the traffic on the other stairwells will be a minimal, just as an emergency exit only type thing. So we've addressed almost everything that the city was concerned about with that building. And to me, the most thing is the look of the area. We've cleaned up 326. We're cleaning up 304. We're trying to buy another building next door to 326, which is another Delacour building. The neighborhood's already looking beautiful. The neighbor painted his house right away. The neighbor next door to our house painted her house and cleaned it up, right? So that sort of starts to grow down the street. So and I've been in this city and I've been in construction a long time, and I've dealt with a lot of different contractors, and I know what the people are talking about. There's a lot of fly-by-night contractors in town right now, doing work in the city because of the economics of buying homes and flipping them. But this guy's not. This guy is a true quality home builder coming from Southern Ontario, and he wants to put in these low income apartments. If I may add, he's already purchased what was it? Another building on James Street. That's right across James Street is 176, right at the corner across from. Anyways, it's another dump right here, 196 James Street. He's purchased that building and intends to bring that back to life and renovate it into 20 odd sort of apartments. And we put an offer on 455 Queen Street, the old banquet hall, and he plans to turn that into another building. So this gentleman, and we did bid on the hospital project also, which we unfortunately didn't get and we were very upset about. So in terms of speaking for the reputation of the contractor, he's solid in my opinion, and you'll see that in the development as we move forward.
If I could just ask a question, given what you've said, it appears that the conditions that are recommended are contained in what are pretty much contained in what you've said. So am I to presume you have no issues with those conditions?
No, we've already met the PUC issues on water are met, and the power issue has been met. And there's no other issue that we cannot meet. The parking spaces are ample. And you find like even 326 Albert Street, we did that. It was a sixplex. So there's 6 families in there, and these are all low income families. There's 2 vehicles that 6 families have in that building that can afford a vehicle to say, right? So in doing this 22 unit apartment building, it's going to be low income families again, and not everyone can afford a parking space. So in providing 22 spaces, 22 apartments, he's already met his application of having, if everybody was to have a car, which highly is unlikely, right? So the neighborhood should be happy to see this, and they're see him doing this development, and he does do a good work. So he goes in, he guts the buildings, he cleans them up, he gets rid of everything, he doesn't reuse anything old, he makes it right, not like these other type of people that are doing it, right?
Okay, well, thank you, Tony, and maybe we'll get Irma up here now to talk, and then if we have any more questions, we'll call you back up.
Sounds good.
And Irma, I know we already have your name in the file, but if you could just repeat your name and your address for. Okay, perfect, thank you. Do you have any more comments for the committee or questions?
And what they are is an improvement in spirit. But there are things that I still would like some answers on. For example, now we've gone from the building here on was originally rented on the second and third floor. And I understand there were costs. Now I find out that all of this has been converted into 17 apartments. I would like to know the number of bedrooms that this reconstruction plus what existed before will comprise, because I come from a selfish, personal position where I see so many people crammed into a very compressed area that for example, 26 Albert, six, low income, that's news to me. You know, how many people live in that, building? And now 17, apartments in, this questionable application. What is the number of people?
Would you like me to speak to?
Yeah, if Michelle could speak to that.
326 Albert is a legal non-conforming sixplex. So a sixplex, as you probably are aware, are 6 units. We can't govern the number of bedrooms in that unit. We can only govern, the Building Code Act works with size and construction, but it is permitted, legally permitted, 6 units. As for the number of bedrooms and people in the existing, that are going to be in 304 Albert, again, this committee has no control over that. I can understand you wanting answers to those questions, and perhaps Mr. Sturpey would be willing to have a conversation with you outside of the chambers and answer some of the questions that are unanswered or that you have on your mind. Would that work for both of you?
And, you know, vague about, I know, he said that there appears to be no problem at, it's question probably brief. I know it doesn't come to mind. So if it's a question brief, we're bringing in, I don't know, with their kitchen facility, going to be a utility, who's frying water, who's flushing down, whatever, and I know, but, restaurant on the corner of Bell that does a lot of frying, but my main concern is I do not want under another base. But that's one of my main concerns. The other, I find out we have, low income, housing, what are we providing for parking, not parking field, living space, outdoor?
Again,
That, is a residential building, plus, I don't know, it's still under construction, but I don't see a window on the Huron side.
and one of the conditions that the committee is being recommended to the committee, and Mr. Sturpey has agreed that the owner is okay with the condition, is that they must obtain approval of the Director of Planning for the building and site development, including the building facade, amenity space, and potential landscaping prior to the issuance of any building permits. So he will have to provide a plan to the planning director that addresses what would be suitable for the outside of that building, what would be suitable for the inside of that building, and what would be suitable for the grounds.
Is they park on the side. Says on, as I watched, they drive their vehicles sidewalk and load and unload whatever they have out. Looking at 17 apartments, why would they not make a loading, unloading dock on the parking side?
And I'm sure that that's something that Mr. Sturpey can address with you. It's not something we can, but it's maybe something that he can answer for you. And an appropriate suggestion to him as well.
And again, I thank
Thank you.
Thank you. Should we make from the committee member?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask for some questions or comments from committee members.
Madam Chair, through you to Mr. Serpy, he spoke about the power and the water. That includes the sewage as well.
Um, Public Works has said there's no issue.
Okay, so it's all good
Yep.
then, yeah.
We had them on site and they were no issues.
That was my question.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, it is recorded that Ms. Giovanetti has asked that it be recorded that she has concerns. And hopefully it'll never have to come up, but
And with the restaurant leaving with the disaster that it was, there was no grease traps in the design of that old restaurant. So I could imagine the stuff that was being poured down the sewers for years when it was run as a restaurant. Because there's nothing in the building to protect.
That was my first thought as
Yeah.
well. That the restaurant that was in that building predates any of the regulations currently in place and could possibly.
No grease traps, nothing.
Drains for everything.
Right.
Okay.
It seems that
Madam Chair, for me.
service is adequate.
And if I just may add to another thing, there is an entranceway being constructed in the main parking lot of the building now, so that where all the offloading and loading will be done, will be right in the parking lot of the building. The new entranceway being put in and part of the design.
Right, thank you.
would you have, I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Michelle.
would you have any issue with us noting that in the recommended conditions? Because that is a concern of the neighbor.
Oh, yeah, don't,
Okay.
please, go ahead. That's all stuff that we want to do.
You can add.
And like, even 326, when we took it over, the yard at the front was nothing but garbage. And now it's a lawn that's maintained and cut on a regular basis and it looks pretty, right?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I think Frank had a question.
Just a quick question. So obviously you've openly disclosed you want to develop the future basement of
Yes,
this. So, you are going through effort for the site plan application. And
the basement wasn't noted and that's why I didn't say anything up until now, excuse me. Because there was 2 apartments down there. That's where the owners of the building were living, was in the basement apartments. So those were existing apartments in the basement.
Oh.
And so we haven't changed anything in terms of use of the building, because that's where the owners of the building lived. It was, there was basement apartments there. So that's why it wasn't noted in the application, because we were just leaving it as is.
right, I'm assuming it's forming part of the calculations for.
Yeah.
We're not saying they were legal.
Yes,
We're not saying they were illegal, but we're
Okay.
not saying they were legal
right,
units.
so we'll have to work on that.
It would.
Yes.
We're not addressing anything downstairs. That's for building department to do.
And I've been working closely with the city and the building department and the building inspectors on all steps as we move forward, so. Taking time.
Well, I appreciate everyone's comments because I feel like a lot of answers that I didn't have last week. Oh, we have another question. Yep. That's okay. Yeah, if you want to switch places and then come on up.
To add, something, they said they're in the, that Nice is in the process of trying to acquire a building next to 324 or 326. That is another huge building that again is going to involve a terrific increase in density.
Yeah.
population.
Unfortunately, we can only look at the matter to the date and that was kind of, yeah, no. I appreciate it. And if we have to look then again at that building, then we will. So I appreciate the comments. So what I was gonna say is I just feel like a lot of answers, or we got a lot of answers this time than that we didn't have last meeting. So I'm prepared to put forth a motion or see if anyone else would call for a motion. Thank you.
So the floor is now closed.
It's now closed, yeah.
I'll put forward the motion for the approval of the application with all the recommendations, with the additional recommendation at 0.5 that the moving for loading and offloading be moved to the back of the parking lot.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. And can I get a
just put that to the parking lot, building will
Okay,
determine.
Okay, the location, yeah, just to the parking lot. Thank you.
And can I get a second for that? And all in favor? Oh, second by Wayne, sorry. And all in favor? So the motion has been passed.
I will provide Mr. Sturpey and Ms. Juvenetti Bray with formal written decision in the next day or two.
Okay, and thank you.
Sure. Okay. So Madam Chair, if I could bring your attention to, the committee's attention to item 2 on the agenda. That being an application A 3824, an application from Daniel Frederick Beath and Christine Bruni. The address is Civic number 149 Churchill Avenue. It is located on the south side of Churchill Avenue between Farewell Terrace and Peoples Road. It is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R2 gentle density residential. Relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended by increasing the maximum permitted height of a privacy fence. The intent of the application is to legitimize the rear yard existing fence. Specifically, section 7.2 calls for a minimum fence height of 1.8 meters. The applicant seeks to increase the minimum permitted fence height to 2.1844 meters. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and by posting on the city website. The owners of the abutting property, Wayne, would you mind shutting that door? Thank you. The owners of the abutting property at 157 Churchill Avenue provided an email advising that they have no problems with the applicants and do not have any issues with their fence at all and prefer the fence height they have now. It provides both properties with the privacy that we like and prefer. The yard and fence are very well cared for and maintained. The fence does not cause any issues to anyone's living space or hindrance to anyone's ability to enjoy their own property. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building Division had no response. Engineering and Construction had no comment. Fire Services had no comment. Legal Department had no comment. Planning Division had no objections and do not anticipate any adverse effects. PUC Distribution Electric and Public Utilities Water each had no concerns. No, my recommendations, no staff objections or concerns from staff, and no evidence of any negative impact if the application is approved. And those are my submissions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there anyone in the gallery who's here to speak on the matter? Oh, did you want to come up?
I'm Matthew Battisti, agent for Mr. and Mrs. Beath.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any comments or
No
no?
comments.
Okay, and any comments from committee members?
The application says minimum fence height 1.8 meters.
It should have said maximum. That's why I changed it to,
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, I'll close the discussion then and ask for a motion. Okay, thank you, Frank.
Sure, I'll second that.
Second by Anthony, and all in favor? Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure the neighbors' comments helped support that. Thank you.
Yes, for sure.
Yep. Note that Mr. Rossi had to leave.
Mr. Bruni.
We'll get through this today.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
Have a good holidays.
Moving to item 3 on your agenda, application A 4024, an application from Sargent Development Sioux Limited. Ron Sarter is here on behalf of the application. It's Civic number 218 Industrial Park Crescent. It is located on the east side of the west leg of Industrial Park Crescent, approximately 100 meters south of the drive-in road and Industrial Park Crescent intersection. It is designated industrial in the official plan and is zoned M2 medium industrial zone. Relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended by reducing the north interior side yard to facilitate the proposed 2,870 square foot addition to the most easterly unit number 7, currently occupied by Ontario Northland. The intent is to match the interior side yard setback established by the existing structure. Specifically, section 14.2.2 requires a minimum interior side yard of 5 meters. The applicant seeks to reduce the minimum north interior side yard to 4 meters for the proposed addition. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and posting on the city website. I see there's no one in the gallery to speak to it, and I didn't receive any virtual or written comment from neighbors. So as part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building Division had no objection. Conservation Authority had no objection. Engineering and Construction had no comment. Fire Services had no comment. Legal Department had no comment. Planning Division had no objection. PUC Distribution Inc. for electrical service had no concerns. An application for any electrical service changes is required for the building addition. Public Utilities Commission, the water utility, had no concerns. An application for general water service is required for the building addition. The applicant is encouraged to contact PUC. Engineering Department early in the design process. Building Division staff wish to take this opportunity to remind the owner that there is a building permit that has not yet been finalized on the subject property. And that's something you can take up with Building, Ron. Planning staff advised that the proposed variance is consistent with the setbacks of the existing facility to the north property line. No adverse effects are anticipated. Staff recommendations, there's no objections or concerns from staff or any outside agencies or neighbors. Planning staff do not anticipate any adverse effects. And those are my submissions, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And Ron, do you have any questions or comments for the committee or Michelle? No? Okay. And any comments or questions from committee members for Ron?
Madam Chair.
Okay, I'll close the discussion and ask for a motion.
Move that the motion.
I'll second them.
Okay, first by Wayne and second by Anthony. And all in favor? Okay, motion passed. Thank you.
Moving to item 5 on your agenda.
Didn't do 4.
Oh, sorry, I'll take you to 4. I mean, sorry, item 4. And is Tammy on Zoom? Okay. This is an application from Tammy Peaster, and she's attending on Zoom. Tammy is the owner of 24 Wireless Avenue. It is located on the southwest corner of Wireless Avenue and Orion Street. It is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R2 gentle density residential zone. Relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended by increasing the maximum permitted height of a privacy fence. The intent of the application is to accommodate the non-standard grade between the subject property and the abutting property. Specifically, section 7.2 has a maximum fence height of 1.8 meters. The applicant seeks to increase the maximum permitted fence height in the south interior side yard to 2.184 meters. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and posting on the city website. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building Division had no objection. Engineering and Construction had no comment. Fire Services had no response. Legal Department and Planning Division had no objections. PUC Distribution Inc. Electric and Public Utilities Commission Water Utility, neither one of them had any concerns. Staff comments and recommendations, there's no objections or concerns from staff and or outside agencies. Planning staff do not anticipate any adverse effects. Those are my submissions, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Tammy on Zoom, do you have any questions or comments for Michelle or the committee?
Is her sound on?
I think your sound's not on.
Is her sound on? Is our sound on?
We'll just need just 1 second. We can't hear you. We're just gonna look into that.
Yeah. We can just. Yeah. Okay. Just hope she could hear us.
Can you hear us? Yeah, okay.
Just, Madam Chair, ask if she has anything to add.
Do you have anything to add? Just give us a yes or thumbs down for no. No? Okay. Are there any questions from committee members?
No questions, Madam Chair.
I just had a question. What do you mean by non-standard grade? It's just the
Yeah.
elevation height?
So when she
Okay.
puts it at 6 feet, it's like 3 feet.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Okay, with that, I'll close the discussion and ask for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll put for a motion for the approval
Okay,
application.
okay, okay, thank you, Anthony. Second by Wayne and all in favor? Okay, motion passed. Okay, thank you, Tammy.
Next time.
Okay. So moving now to tab 5 on your agenda, application A422224. It's an application from Dale Tucker. He's the owner of 349 Allen Side Road. It's located on the west side of Allen Side Road between Second Line West and Ransom Drive. It's designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R1. Excuse me, a state residential zone. Relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended by increasing the maximum permitted building height for a garage. The intent of the application is to facilitate the construction of a 9.75 meter by 12.19 meter detached garage, complete with workspace and upper level storage area. Specifically, section 9.1.5, maximum building height for a garage is 6 meters. The applicant seeks to increase the maximum building height for a garage to 7.31 meters. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and posting on the city website. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building Division had no response. Engineering Construction had no comment. Fire Services had no comment. Legal Department, no comment. Planning Division, no objections. However, they commented it adheres to the criteria of the 4 tests of a minor variance. The upper level of the detached accessory structure would only be used as a storage area. In addition, the proposed structure exceeds all required setbacks stated in the zoning bylaw. Planning does not anticipate any adverse effects. Public utilities, electric utility and water utility had no concerns. I note that there's no objections or concerns from staff, and planning staff have commented that they do not anticipate any adverse effects. And those are my submissions.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. With no one being in the gallery or on Zoom, I will ask for questions or comments from committee members.
None, Madam Chair.
Okay, I will close the discussion and ask for a motion.
Make the motion to approve the application.
Approved by Wayne and second by
Anthony.
Anthony, and all in favor? Okay, motion passed.
Thank you. And now I can take you to tab 6.
Tab 7? 6.
6. I'm sorry, tab 6 we've heard. We'll go to tab 7. And this is application B2424. It's a consent application. Carlo Spatafor is the agent for the applicant, and he is available by telephone.
Okay.
Donald and Antoinetta McEwen are the owners of 67 Crimson Ridge Drive. It is located on the west side of Crimson Crimson Ridge Drive, approximately 270 meters north of its intersection with Fourth Line West. It is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R3 with a special exception, being low-density residential with a special exception. The applicants are seeking the committee's consent to sever and convey a triangular-shaped rear parcel having an area of approximately 47.069 square meters and convey it to the southerly abutting property municipally identified as 13 Bluffs Drive as a lot addition. The intent of the request is to remedy the encroachment of the abutting owner's shed on the subject property. The retained lands will maintain an approximate area of 1,655.82 square meters. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and by posting on the city's website. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building Division did not respond. Engineering and Construction had no comment. Fire Services had no comment. Legal Department did not respond. Legal Department sent me a response of no comment just before I left the office. Planning Division had no objections, noting that the retained lands will continue to have sufficient frontage and lot area as specified in the gentle density R2 zone. PUC Distribution Inc. had no concerns. Public Utilities Commission, the water utility, had no concerns. Staff comments and recommendations. There's no evidence of any opposition to the request and no one in the gallery to produce any. Recommended conditions of any approval are payment of transfer review fee, provide a transfer deed of land for certificate official, noting that subsections 53 or 5 of the Planning Act as amended applies to any subsequent conveyance of or transaction involving the parcel of land that is subject of this consent. Provide a reference plan, provide PIN abstract and a PIN map, minor variance application approval if required, discharge of charge or mortgage, partial discharge of charge or mortgage, and payment of taxes. And those are my submissions, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Does anybody have any comments for Michelle, or do you need us to get a hold of Mr. Spatafor?
I don't need Mr. Spatafor, just a comment to Michelle. So this is going to be a totally additional lot?
No,
Or no,
just an addition to a lot.
addition to a lot. There's a-
There's a nice little
Oops.
little sketch there.
Thank you.
It's just nice because it helps to make it look like it's not a huge sever there. Thank you. Any other? Okay, with that, I will close the discussion and ask for a motion.
Put forward the motion for the acceptance of the application approval with the recommended conditions.
Perfect. Thank you, Anthony. And second by Wayne, and all in favor? Okay, motion passed. Thank you.
Okay, the only other business on the agenda is I've put in your agenda a tentative hearing schedule for 2025. Are there any glaring issues with anybody? It's not to say that these dates aren't subject to change, but we will, we can pass this noting that they're subject to change, that we can get that in place. And you'll note that the only one that's a little skewed from all the rest is the first one being January 15th. If I followed the pattern of the rest of the hearings, it would have been January 8th. In talking to some of the clients we might have, they'd prefer not New Year's week
Sure.
preparing for an application, as I'm sure the committee would prefer.
Yeah.
So there'll be a little bit shorter turnaround between the January and February meeting, but I think we can accommodate that.
Sure. I'm good with
Chairman?
the,
Yeah.
good. You have to call for adjournment. Okay, I'll call for an adjournment. Hey, Anthony, second, Wayne. All in favor?
Thank you.
Michelle.
That's.
Maybe I'm asking you to speculate.
Sure. Yes, sir.